हेलो 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 ममता, can you hear me? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, Poonam ma'am, you are audible.
दिख रहा है?
Yes, ma'am. You're audible.
Poonam ma'am, आरके सिंह सर को, डॉक्टर आरके सिंह सर को और सोरल सर को ये बनाइए ना पोस्ट.
Just a second.
Shall we start?
Madam, 46 people have joined, huh? Yeah, they are joining. Mamta madam, I am audible? Hello? Hello? Mamta madam? Mamta madam? Mamta
Shall we
madam?
start? Yes, yes. Shall we start the session, sir? Good morning, sir.
Madam, am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are audible, sir.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you are also audible.
Okay.
48 people, they have joined.
So shall we start? Babita ma'am, shall we start?
मैम 2 मिनट रुकिए.
Okay, okay.
मैडम स्टार्ट कीजिए.
Yes, yes. A very hearty and blissful morning to the assembly of distinguished guests, participants, program organizers, colleagues, research scholars, and students. On behalf of Clara's College of Commerce, I, Dr. Mamta Rajani, hereby welcome you all to grace the occasion of the one-day international multidisciplinary e-conference titled Impact of COVID-19 on Sustainable Development, jointly organized by Clara's College of Commerce in collaboration with University of Mumbai and Indian Accounting Association Thane chapter. We are pleased to welcome you all in this conference. May we all join to extend a warm welcome to all the dignitaries present over here. Light symbolizes knowledge and dignity. It not only dispels darkness, but also illuminates our souls. Let us seek the divine blessings as we begin this program. To begin this auspicious occasion, keeping up with our beautiful Indian tradition of invoking the Almighty's blessings before we commence the session, may I request the honorable dignitaries to kindle the auspicious lamp to embark on today's proceedings and pay tribute to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge. Mother, we pray for your blessings with all humility. Give us the wisdom to make the world a better place. May all of us live in harmony with nature and other forms of life. Let us pray to Mother Saraswati. Poonam ma'am, start with Saraswati Vanda. Poonam ma'am, can you hear me? With the blessing of His Holiness, we commence the beginning of today's program. It is my honor and privilege to have been given this opportunity to officiate today's program. The world is full of diamonds and gems, and we are having some of them here today. To build this event, it is our great pleasure and privilege to have honorable dignitaries with us. Before we start, let me first acknowledge the presence of some of the eminent guests. We have amongst us Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. R.K. Singh, Dean and Head, Department of Commerce, Delhi School of Economics, Dr. G. Soral, Guest of Honor, President, Indian Accounting Association, Dr. Rena, Economics and Internationalization, WNU, Business School, Northwest University, South Africa, Dr. P. Malyadri, ICSSR Research Institute, Ministry of HRD, Government of India, Mr. Suraj Nath, Deputy Chief Warden, Headquartered, Directorate of Civil Defences, Delhi, Dr. Gopal Kalpoti, Principal, MBM College of Commerce and Science, Chairman, BOS in Business Economics, University of Mumbai, Dr. Kinnari Thakkar, Professor, Head, Department of Commerce, Mumbai, Dr. Sangeeta Pawar, Senate Member and Academic Council Member, University of Mumbai, Dr. Megha Somani, Member of Academic Council, University of Mumbai, and Dr. Madhukar Geete, Principal, Clara's College of Commerce. May we all join and put our hands together and extend a warm welcome to the dignitaries. Now, putting the theme of the conference, once again, I welcome the dignitaries in this international multidisciplinary e-conference titled Impact of COVID-19 on Sustainable Development. Stars lie hidden in our soul. If we dream intensely, we move towards our goal. Every dream precedes a goal. Remember, goals are like magnets and they attract the things that make dreams come true. Holding this international conference was like long cherished dream of Clara's College of Commerce, and I congratulate all the dignitaries, distinguished guests, conveners, participants, faculty, staff, research scholars, and students for making a grand success. I also acknowledge the unwavering support received from the management and principal of the Clara's College of Commerce for rendering all the support to make this event a grand success. We are grateful to our Honorable Director, respected Ajay Kaul sir, for his inspiring mentorship for organizing the conference. Research is a hunger for those I acknowledge. Till it is satisfied, the researchers move on and on. We are glad to see such a galaxy of intellectuals in this virtual platform. Visit of various researchers under this roof is a matter of pride and immense pleasure for arrangement of collaboration of alike minds. The response to a request to authors for contribution has been overwhelming. We have received around 300 research papers for publication, and many participants from various states have participated in this conference. A huge round of applause for all those who have contributed for making this conference a grand success. In January 2020, the World Health Organization declared the outbreak of new coronavirus disease COVID-19 to be a public health emergency of international concern. Currently, in several countries, including India, globally, this pandemic continues to enforce a temporary closure of all non-essential shops and services aside from supermarkets and pharmacies. Workers in countries that are at high risk of infection have been asked to work from home as cities have been placed under lockdown. Even curfews to combat the spread of the virus have been imposed in several countries. With all this signaling an unprecedented disruption of commerce, we are facing various challenges regarding health and safety, supply chain, labor force, cash flow, consumer demand, and marketing. People in the thousands are dying every day from the virus symptoms, while a public health issue has forced the world to come to a halt and rethink what a sustainable future for our planet and existence is. These drastic recent events have raised the deliberation by the authors to redefine the concept of sustainability. The entire world is currently fighting the same battle, the fight against COVID-19. As each day passes, contentions about the global economy, political and economic orders, and healthcare systems continue to prevail in a myriad of discussions. The cost of the crisis in terms of loss of lives is painful, but the effects on the sustainable development prospects and the global economy are worrisome. Though many economic, social, and political avenues, this pandemic is heralded to affect the global development objectives on a vast scale. This pandemic showcases an opportunity for us to act in solidarity and take it as an impetus to achieve the sustainability. It has utterly displayed the weaknesses in our global system. As the world continues to deal with the challenges thrown by the pandemic, we cannot shift our eyes away from the achievement of the sustainable development. We must seek to turn the crisis into an opportunity and ramp up necessary actions to achieve our goals. United we stand, divided we fall. As educators, it is also a responsibility to look ahead and assess how the pandemic and the global recovery from it will impact the future of sustainable development. Hence, while significant global efforts are being put into controlling this pandemic, sustainability in the post-COVID-19 era should not be neglected. As a matter of fact, sustainability and achieving this sustainable development goals are even more critical now than before. As educators, it is our responsibility to look ahead and assess how the pandemic and the global recovery from it will impact the future of sustainable development. This conference aims to provide an inclusive insight into a comprehensive overview of the sustainability perspectives, dynamics, and practices in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic crisis. Therefore, in the meantime, I sincerely pray for all of us to be safe in the challenging and uncertain time. Together, we can navigate this crisis and build a better, more sustainable world. With this note, I now request the guiding force behind us, our respected principal, Dr. Madhukar Geete sir, chairperson of the conference, to address the gathering and introduce the theme of the international conference. May I request respected principal sir to address the gathering.
Yeah. Thanks, Mamta madam.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Now, warm welcome to all the participants. Very good morning. Today, we are attending the international conference on impact of COVID-19 on sustainable development. First of all, I am very grateful to my management, Ajay sir, Sabna madam, for their support, their help, and their permission to organize this conference. I am also grateful to Vice Chancellor Pendekar sir, R.D. Kulkarni, Pro Vice Chancellor, then Bhambre sir, Dean of Commerce Faculty, and our chief guest, Dr. R.K. Singh from Delhi, Dr. G. Soral, then Surajnath, and other members of the advisory committee. Now, the objective of this conference is to initiate dialogue among the academic fraternity about the sustainable development, the impact of COVID-19, then to create the awareness about this pandemic and to evaluate the positive or negative impact of this pandemic. Then sub-themes include commerce, economics, social sciences, education, health facilities, accounting, finance, banking, library and information sciences, and other subjects like agriculture, industry, service sector, etc. Now, first of all, we will think about what is sustainable development. Now, first of all, in 1987, the phrase or the concept of sustainable development was accepted by the United Nations Commission on Environment and Development. And this commission has defined sustainable development as the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Therefore, we have to think about present generation, we have to think about the past generation, future generation, and but this definition was accepted for 25 years up to 2012, and in 2012, Rio plus 20 conference was held, and this conference has adopted a holistic approach, a comprehensive approach regarding the sustainable development, and they have accepted three dimensions, three principles of sustainable development, that is economic development, social inclusion, and environmental sustainability. Now you see, economic sustainability include equal economic growth, that creation of wealth for all, equal or proper distribution of wealth, income, and development without harming the environment. Social sustainability include development of the people, society, community, our culture, health, education, quality of the life. Then gender equality, and so on. And the third principle, third dimension of economic sustainability, social, and third one is the environmental sustainability. This environmental sustainability is nothing but we have to prevent the overuse and wastage of resources. There should be rational use of resources, their conservation, protection, saving of water, renewable energy, and protection of environment. All these are the points included in. Now human beings are facing so many problems, maybe hunger, poverty, inequality, scarcity of water, climate change, etc. Therefore, all these problems can be resolved by promoting sustainable development. Now here we can see in 2002, 8 Millennium Development Goals were adopted by the United Nations, and these 8 Millennium Development Goals were ended or completed by the year 2015. And in 2015, United Nations have adopted another 17 sustainable development goals. And the target is to achieve these goals by the year of 2030. Therefore, no poverty, zero hunger, good health, quality education, gender equality, supply of clean water, then clean energy, decent work, economic growth, innovations, infrastructure, reduce inequality, then sustainable cities, re- responsive consumption, climate protection, life below the water, life on the land, peace, justice, strong institutions, and last one is partnership in order to achieve the sustainable development. Now, the next point, very important, which is directly related with our conference theme, that is the impact of COVID-19 on sustainable development. You see, negative impact is there, positive impact is there. First of all, we will discuss about negative impact. Due to this COVID pandemic, sustainable development of all the countries, whole world is affected or it is halted. The growth rate has declined, and in case of some countries, their growth rate is minus, negative. Government revenue has also declined, but public expenditure has increased enormously. As a result of this, deficit financing or fiscal deficit has increased up to 8 to 9% in case of India. All sectors were adversely affected. In case of agriculture, small farmers, marginal farmers, and landless laborers were affected in respect of unemployment, supply of finance, loan, marketing facilities. Apart from large industries, small, medium, and micro industries were also affected, and lakhs of small and micro industries were closed down. In case of service sector, financial, real estate, travel, tourism, transportation, hotels, hospitality, education, and other services are also adversely affected. Now, small traders, shopkeepers, hawkers, barbers, daily wage earners are the people they were affected most. Almost all economies in the world are facing slowdown, recession, and even depression. Therefore, unemployment, underemployment, disguised unemployment in agriculture, cyclical unemployment, and moreover, unemployment of educated persons, people have increased Lakhs of people lost their jobs due to closing down of industries. Their income has declined. Their living standard is adversely affected. Reduce their demand for goods in terms of Keynes. In words of Keynes, it's nothing but effective demand. There was a process of reverse migration. Normally, we see people migrate from rural areas to urban areas, urban areas. But here, peoples are migrating from urban areas to rural, from cities to villages. Indian export is also affected, creating adverse balance of payment. Deficit in the balance of payment has also widened. IT and IT enabled services, agriculture exports, ready-made garments, leather goods, gems and jewelry, all are affected. Some farmers, unemployed persons, unfortunately, they have committed suicides. Lakhs of people, they lost their lives due to coronavirus. Family members, friends, and near and dears were lost. Some psychological and mental effect is also there. Stress, anxiety, depression, sleep disorder, obesity, decrease in the memory power, and health problems have been created. Now there is always insecurity in the minds of the people about this pandemic, about future, about the availability of effective medicines, and some other things are there. Now some positive impact can be discussed. The positive impact is, first of all, India has been emerging as a hub for the invention of medicines, drugs, vaccination, these remdesivir injection, PPE kits, health in hospitals, beds, ventilators, oxygen, health facilities, etc. India is exporting and will export medicine, drugs to other countries. Then central government, state governments have also helped people in the form of financial help, supply of food grains, medicines, vaccinations, ventilators, etc. Then use of modern technology, internet has been increased. The example is that now our teaching fraternity is teaching online, conducting online exams, etc. And last but not least, people shall come together. They help each other. Cooperation, neighborhood, and brotherhood has increased. Therefore, at the end, we can say at present, crores of people are affected due to this pandemic. More than 10 to 12 lakh people, they lost their life. USA is the first, Brazil is the second, and India is the third most affected country in the world. In case of states, Maharashtra, then Pune city, Mumbai is the hot spot of this COVID-19. Therefore, in short, my opinion, my conclusion is that there has been an adverse impact of this COVID-19 pandemic on sustainable development of the world. Mental and psychological impact is also there. Crores of people were infected and lakhs of people, they died. There are different waves. First wave in India, this is the second wave, but in France and other countries, third and fourth wave of COVID-19 is there. COVID is spreading through air. Therefore, now it is said that it is a airborne disease. Use of mask, social distancing, clinic of hands were suggested by the scientists and doctors to prevent the COVID. But one thing is clear that we have to live with the COVID, and in coming years, in coming future, the vaccination is the only solution to prevent this. And corona will be a common disease like common fever, cough, and cold. Therefore, please remember, health is wealth. जान है तो जहान hai. Take care. And in this way, I announce that this conference is open. Thank you. Over to Mamta Madam.
Thank you, sir, for your inspiring and motivating words. All of the eminent personalities of today's conference I know are lifelong learners looking for new skills, insights, and ideas. So it's our honor to welcome such great personalities present with us today. We at Clara's College of Commerce find great exquisite delight in welcoming our honored guests. Today, we have a splendid presence of a great personality, Professor R.K. Singh. It is a great honor for me to introduce and welcome our Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. R.K. Singh, for this conference. Dr. R.K. Singh, Dean and Head Department of Commerce, Delhi School of Economics, an astute professional with years of experience in research, teaching, and administration. If one takes a closer look at the alchemy of the achieving person, two distinct virtues pop up. Besides perseverance and hard work, these are pioneering spirit and willingness. Sir is a living legend. Sir has strong philosophy of teaching. Sir is a dedicated partner to various universities and outreach events that help to promote learning and supporting the community. Sir has also served as a member of the various educational boards of colleges and universities and also member on the advisory boards of various institutes. Sir is rightly acclaimed as a thinker and a scholar. He's well known for his diligence and his academic approach to work as well as his accessibility. Professor R.K. Singh is presently Head and Dean, Faculty of Commerce and Business, Delhi School of Economics. With rich experience, academic rich experience, he has made valuable contributions through writings for national and international journals published by Routledge, Taylor and Francis, Springer, Emerald, etc. in the broad domain of managing human resources with focus on effectiveness and spirituality. Sir has been editor of Business Analysts on editorial board and reviewers panel of international journals like Management Decision, Journal of Organizational Change Management, International Journal of Organizational Analysis, Journal of Applied Research in Higher Education. In addition to the fusion of qualitative and quantitative, he has more than 30 years of experience, not only in the field of teaching, but also in corporate training, consultancy, and administration. Sir has held various positions of responsibility, including chairman, governing body of Bharati College, University of Delhi, member academic council of Mahatma Gandhi International Hindi Central University. Presently, he is member of academic council of Manav Rachna University, Haryana, and Lucknow University, Uttar Pradesh. In addition to this, he is a member governing body of Narsi Monji College of Commerce and Economics, Mumbai, and SIES College of Commerce and Economics, Mumbai. As corporate trainer, Sir has successfully headed various training programs in India, leading organizations like Vedanta, Balco, Forest Research Institute, Defense Research Developmental Organization, National Hydropower Corporation, Steel Authority of India Limited, Gas Authority of India Limited. His contributions as a trainer have been well acknowledged and appreciated. His interventions at corporate have won accolades among HR practitioners. Sir, we are immensely honored by your gracious presence. Your aura has lent a unique charm to the occasion. We are highly grateful to our Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. R.K. Singh, for accepting the invitation. We owe to you for being significant part of this session. Words are powerful motivators and have the ability to transform the history of a nation and bring transition in the perception and mindset of people. I take this privilege to request our Honorable Chief Guest to kindle the fire of change in the delegates by his precious words of wisdom. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mamta, for humbling me through this introduction, which I don't deserve. Honorable Professor Soral Sahib, Dr. Madhukar Geete ji, Professor Rena, Dr. Babita Kanojia, who was instrumental in making me to be here with you. Other dignitaries who are there with us, connected through this electronic platform. Academic scholars joining Clara College event, international event. I'm honored to be with you today. And my compliments to organizers of Clara College and Indian Accounting Association, who thought to have deliberation on a very topical theme, that how this COVID-19, the present pandemic, this is impacting the sustainability issue. A very detailed account has been already given by the principal of the college, Dr. Geete. So hardly there is anything left. However, I have thought to make my viewpoint through 4 broad headings to talk about that what is the impact or the severity which this pandemic has made, particularly in terms of economic impact and the social impact. Second, that what kind of paradoxes this pandemic is creating. Third, that what better pathways are there ahead, which planners may look at. And fourth, I'll be talking about that as an academic, what issues are there when we are talking about the issue of sustainability. Mamta, Dr. Mamta, please unmute, please mute yourself. So let's start with the first issue, that what severity this pandemic has made. This has resulted into extreme poverty, very high inequality, economic inequality, a very high job loss, a widening digital divide, a disruption in social interaction, and very abrupt shift there in the market. This may lead to dire consequences to the larger population of the globe. Some of the ramifications may be that this inequality of income, distribution of the income, This may lead to social unrest, political fragmentation, some geopolitical tensions, creating a threat for livelihood, employment, economic stagnation, cyber attacks, erosion of societal cohesion, and anthropocenic, man-made damages to the climate, to the environment. Today morning, a report has been released by World Economic Forum. This is called as Global Risk Report 2021. This is the 16th edition. I could not go through the complete report, but when I flipped some pages, I found that this report says that the economic shock wave of this pandemic, in terms of working hours, has taken 495 million jobs, roughly 500 million jobs only in the second quarter of the year 2020. And this report says that only 28 economies of the world in the year 2020 have been able to maintain some growth. The rest decelerating, not able to make any growth, rather negative. Let's look at the second dimension, what I mentioned in the beginning, that what kind of the paradoxes this pandemic is creating. I see 4 paradoxes: the digital paradox, the paradox which is there with the youth, the perplexity with the youth, another paradox with the climate and the development, and the fourth, that is changing industrial landscape. About digital paradox, as we have seen in last 1 year particularly, the digitalization of the human interaction has gone up with huge increase in e-commerce, telework, remote work, and of course, in academics, online education. With higher demand for digitalization of human interaction, the digital divide is also on rise. On one hand, we are mandated to go for digitalization. On the other hand, people in the right sense of the term who are able to access this digital platform and those who are not able to access, that gap every day is widening. If you want to read more, you can refer that report of Klaus Schwab. Couple of psychologists working in the domain of technology, AI, Shubhana Zuwaf, McAfee, Brynjolfsson, they say that with this digitalization, whatever goes digital has a potential to become routinized, automated. And the moment it is automated, there is a job loss. So on one hand, this COVID is fostering the use of digitalization, IT. On the other hand, it is creating a threat. Whether it would be accessible digitalization, the IT would be accessible to everyone or not. And the concept what what SDG has talked about, that inclusivity, that will remain or not. On the other hand, whatever goes digital results into, if it results into loss of the job of the humans, what kind of the sustainability we will have at the end of the period, that needs to be deliberated upon. Second, the perplexity, the disillusionment which is there with the youth. On one hand, there are job losses. On the other hand, there are manifold increase in the jobs. But there is a different kind of employment fabric which is emerging. The nature of the opportunities lost are different from the nature of new acquired opportunities. And they need a different kind of skill set there in the youth. And a study says that the shelf life of the skills that has come down to 5 years. So whatever skill set we are giving to our students, it is useful only for 5 years, because the rate at which things are changing, in 5 years time, skills will go redundant. Is our entire ecosystem, including education, is capable enough to sustain the youth to meet out the challenges of this digitalization and keep on changing the skills at the interval of every 4 or 5 years? That needs to be addressed. The displacement of the jobs and the creation of new jobs, this is creating complete disillusion in the mind of the youth. And this digital migration, this needs a lot of training. And the example is this online teaching. Since 1 year, last March 2020, Delhi University, when lockdown started, asked us to go for online teaching. So it is there in everywhere in this country, in the world rather. But are we trained enough to understand that what is the regimen of this online teaching? What is the regimen of this digitalization? Or it is only to feed the belly? And a very crude example I give, that there is a regimen of preparing sambar, and there is a regimen of preparing pizza. The sambar is based on some Indian spices, and pizza has a good use of cheese. If we have to fill the belly, and while preparing sambar, if cheese is mixed there in the sambar masala, will the taste of sambar remain the same? Answer is no. So this is creating an entire different kind of matrix which needs to be addressed. The fourth paradox I see is climate change. Last year, when there was a lockdown for months together, after 31 years of my stay in Delhi, for the first time I saw blue sky in Delhi. Ever since I left my small village, I was not able to see blue sky until and unless I go back to my village. But in Delhi, I saw after 31 years that the sky is blue there in Delhi. This was because many activities which were engaged in emission of greenhouse gases, carbon, those things were not getting emitted. Therefore, the environment was clean. And as you know that the ozone layer was healed. But it has a very huge economic cost. So when we are talking about the sustainability, this environmental sustainability, is it on the cost of the development, on the cost of the living, on the cost of the human health? That needs to be deliberated upon. I'm sure that in day-long deliberation, people, scholars would be able to address this. And the fourth paradox I see is the industrial landscape. Industrial landscape, I see that this technology, this pandemic, this has gone for creating a different kind of fabric where there is a lopsided growth of the industry taking place. And this lopsided growth of industry, this is not only about concentration of industry in one geography or talking about only few sectors growing at a faster pace as compared to others. This is impacting the sectors also. On one hand, government says that the smaller and MSMEs, the smaller and the medium sectors, they should grow. But this pandemic has caused these sectors not to grow, not to compete with the big bulls. Another change in this industrial landscape is this work from home. It is lockdown today. We are at home. Immediately after completing this session, I will take class. And yesterday till 9:30, I was there sitting on my laptop, doing my business, talking to people, having some meetings, which was otherwise not possible. So what was mandated earlier, that if it is work from home, this used to give a lot of comfort to the people working from home. But this pandemic, which has mandated, which has imposed this work from home, a different kind of the rubric is emerging. This needs to be addressed, and days are not very far off where the architecture of the home will change, and the homes where you will have a very exclusive office space for all family members, they would be sold at premium. And the meaning of the home is getting changed in an entirely new way, different way. पहले घर वो जगह होती थी जहां पे हम आप अपनी प्राइवेट बात कहते थे. But now, as I'm there in my house talking to you through this platform, I've made everybody in my family not to create any noise, because there is no secluded place where I can go for having this interaction. So this is changing the landscape. So after this paradox, now I come to the third point, that what the pathways are there which can help us to address the issues which this pandemic is creating, with the paradoxes which this pandemic is creating. For that, there is a need to have better risk financing. For that, there is a need to have the right kind of the institutional authority and a very effective public-private partnership which works actually. Why I'm saying the works actually, if you will read the documents, you will find that there is a Sendai framework. This Sendai framework was adopted by Government of India in 2015 with a claim in 2017 that the government has made all required preparations to address any kind of pandemic and disaster. In 2019 March, government along with the public-private partnership through FICCI went an announcement that we have created enough funds in public-private joint partnership to address any kind of situation coming like pandemic coming in this country. But what happened, every one of us know. And the sad part of this is that in September 2019, a report, as this is the World Risk Report, the global risk report, there was a World at Risk report which came in September 2019, which categorically mentioned on page number 50 that a pandemic, respiratory pandemic in next 6 months time is going to happen, and we were not being able to address it. And when we are talking about better pathways, there is a need to understand that the cost of prevention is 500 times lesser than the cost of fighting. So the whatever the situation the pandemic has created, there is need to build a right mechanism to arrest it. And for that, we could create risk champions, the people who can take lead, and who can talk at the national and international level about the holistic system which can go for addressing these issues which this pandemic has created in last 1.5 years. And towards the end, when we are talking about the sustainability, there are two issues related to sustainability to me. One, which is physical, which talks about, as it is given in SDGs, which talks about more economic, more environmental, and more social inclusive growth, which talks about low carbon emission, which talks about low emission of greenhouse gases. This is the physical part of it. It is based on, as Dr. Geethe was also saying, that distribution, inclusive growth, distribution of wealth to all. But to me, growth cannot be inclusive because human mind is very exclusive. For example, the education. We grant our education through categorization of degrees, categorization of classes, first class, second class, third class, and fail. If education is inclusive, instead of creating these categories, we can grant that you are pass or you are not pass, you are pass or you are fail, but that doesn't happen. We create a category, and this category is there everywhere. There is one examination conducted by UPSC for selection of for selection of civil servants. Those who score high, they are given IAS cadre. Those below that, IPS, below that, IFS, like this. It means human mind is made to have exclusion. So with the exclusive mindset, how we are going to address this issue of the physical inclusivity, that needs to be addressed. And there is a psychological component of this sustainability that talks about sustainability as way of thinking, sustainability as way of living, sustainability as looking at the future orientation. Sustainability is not that we say that sustainability is that what we are using today, it should be made available for the next generation. If our philosophy of what we are using today should be accessible for the generation of tomorrow, I think it is very, very utilitarian. Any anthropocenic development, human-centric development, it can talk about sustainability, but it can't achieve sustainability. Often we find that as order comes from the government that we should have rainwater harvesting in our colleges, in our universities, in our societies, we make rainwater harvesting plants, but hardly we pay attention for managing water in our houses. Hardly we pay attention for conservation of the water when it comes to our personal use. So it won't be like this, that the mechanically we would be doing this sustainability attempts, but psychologically we would be refraining from that. So there is a need to build. And for that, this education has to take a quantum leap, has to make this sustainability as the agenda, where the sustainability becomes the part of living. If I look at my department, we teach also a course there on the sustainability. At the same time, we are having a big DG set. As soon as power goes off, we go for switching that generator set on. And that generator set, which takes the diesel as the fuel, that goes for creating a lot of noise and causes a lot of damage to the environment. But no, as the development is, the parameter of the development is including that whether you have the DG set or not, whether you are able to provide the alternate source of power or not. If not, then my ranking will go down. So sustainability, the psychological construct of the sustainability, that needs to be addressed. And we are talking about COVID-19 and sustainability. I think as an academic, when I look at this, I find that we want that everything should happen, but appears to be what it was before. And the example what comes in my mind, that when 37 years back, I left my small village, when now I go back to my village, I find that my village is not same. And often I used to complain कि अब गांव वो नहीं रहा. But one day I reflected that when I left my village 37 years back and where I am now, and what is the meaning of life to me today is different what it was 37 years back. how my village will remain the same. So sustainability is a very contextual context, very contextual construct. The meaning of sustainability will change with the change in times. So this pandemic has made us to realize that how sustainability needs to be redefined, because it has gone for creating a wound. This pandemic has gone for creating a wound. This wound may heal up, but the scar, what it will leave, that will remain with us. And for that, there is a need to address three issues which can bring sustainability, that is efficiency, conservation, and the renewability. Not mechanically, but philosophically, that how we can make our system more efficient, how we can go for conserving our energies, and how we can go for reusing our energy, and what role as an academic or as a citizen we can play to bring more and more issue of renewability there in the agenda. These things will help us to make sustainability a way of life. So there is no need to become sustainable. There is a need to be sustainable. And being sustainable, these issues, whatever we have talked, that would be automatically addressed. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity to share with you my very scattered thoughts. And I'm thankful for that to organizers, to Clara College, and thankful to the people, those who are present on the platform. I have taken a lot of time towards the end. I wish every one of you a safe and a healthy life ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for all words of wisdom that radiated a source of energy within us. Thank you, sir, for your encouraging words and for your inspiring words. Rightly said, sir, time has come which focuses us to take a quantum leap for sustainability. Your enthusiastic words have surely made our delegates put on their thinking caps. Once again, thank you. Now, we have yet another idealistic personality, Professor G. Sorrell. I feel honored and elated to introduce guest of honor for this conference, Professor G. Sorrell, Honorable President, Indian Accounting Association, Founder Coordinator, National Accounting Talent Search organized by Indian Accounting Association. Sir is formerly Professor and Head Director, MFC Program, Department of Accountancy and Statistics, Dean and Faculty Chairman, University College of Commerce and Management Studies. Dean Professor Graduate Studies, Dean Postgraduate Studies, ML Sukhadia University, Udaipur, Rajasthan, and Professor and Head Department of Commerce, Mizoram University. Sir is a versatile and magnanimous personality with many achievements. It gives me an immense pleasure to extend our warm welcome to you, sir. Sir is distinguished educationist, trainer, and researcher with more than 3 decades of experience. Sir is an alumni of IIM Ahmedabad. Sir is also a member of American Accounting Association, Academic Council and Board of Studies of many universities. Sir is also associated with Indian Society for Training and Development and Computer Society of India. As a corporate trainer, Sir has successfully headed various training programs in India's leading organizations. Sir is an approved research guide and associated with various other universities in the field of research. He chaired technical sessions of many national and international conferences. Sir has valuable contributions through writings for national and international journals. It gives me immense pleasure to extend our warm welcome to you, sir. I take this privilege to request our Honorable Chief Guest, Professor G. Sorrell, to address the participants by his precious words of wisdom. Over to you, sir.
Sorrell साहब unmute कर लीजिए.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I have to repeat what I said. In fact, what was said before, that in order not to disturb others, I kept it on mute because the house conditions do not permit, as things I've said before. Thank you for this invitation, and my greetings to all of you on this occasion of one-day e-conference, International e-con. multidisciplinary e-conference on impact of COVID-19 on sustainable development, organized jointly by Clara's College, Mumbai University, and the Indian Accounting Association Thane branch. My colleague on the dais, Professor R.K. Singh Saab, the chief guest of this occasion, Principal Madhukar Gite Saab, Mamta ji, Bhavita Kanojia ji, and other dignitaries whom I may not be able to mention. Dear participants, perhaps having a presence all over the country and abroad. At the outset, I thank the organizers for inviting me here, giving an opportunity to learn. Also, I would give my accolades to the participants, like my previous two speakers have said, for picking up this very apt topic for discussion at this hour. They might have planned this event, weeks before, but we know that with the situation over last few weeks has perhaps made this discussion more relevant for this day. Both the two speeches before me by Professor Gite and Professor Singh perhaps hardly leave anything uncovered. Gite Saab in his speech was giving a complete account of the pros and cons of the COVID-19 situation, which, because all of us are, coming across the pains, particularly of this pandemic, are aware, common people are aware because of the social media. These things are traveling very fast. People have their own views in this regard. Because of it's touching us from all angles. We all feel pain of it nowadays. But to attach it with sustainable development, which is really debatable, will be very useful in terms of having the outcome of this e-conference. As I have already said very elaboratively, both my previous speakers have touched upon various aspects of it. Friends, to me, after listening to all these two, and without repeating much of what has already been said, what remains, to continue in this ball rolling during this conference is to say that, see, why pandemic? Why this pandemic? We have also learned a lot through media, through discussions. It's now 1.5 years that we have been dealing under this fever all over the globe. Present situation is little more panicky, little more depressing. Every now and then we are listening about it, and as was mentioned just before, the recent lockdowns. I am from Rajasthan, and Rajasthan has been locked down for 15 days. Delhi is locked down, as was said, for 6 days. And in other parts of the country also, including Maharashtra, perhaps, situation is almost like that. And we have experienced the last year's lockdown, so those problems are coming up. And that agony is, in fact, on the back of our mind first when we are all discussing these things. One thing which I would like now to add over here, perhaps, is that whatever might have been the reasons for this pandemic, man-made or nature-made, they also say, and the human history, and for that matter, the history of various other living beings must have witnessed several such threats, but the life never has lost. Life has always won. From that angle, I would like to focus more on some positive aspects which COVID-19 has posed before us, and that helps us in thinking positively about sustainable development. Of course, all aspects, multiple aspects from various angles, Professor R.K. Singh in particular has outlined regarding sustainable development. Very learned additions he made regarding defining its dimensions. But this is one dimension which I would like now to focus, because I feel this in the row, this is perhaps the need of the time in this conference that I should say about it. Friends, when we look at it, that also helps us in motivating us morally, which is very important. In fact, there have been write-ups from the psychologists, and they say that in addition to maintaining yourself physically, you must maintain yourself mentally also. Maybe that helps a little. I don't know about it. So as we have seen that, if you ask me, like what has been the most positive impact of COVID-19, negative impacts we have all discussed, we all know, we are all pained because of that. To me, it appears that perhaps something was lost, something in the fray of our rushing in the wake of development was lost. I would like, in fact, just to make a brief mention of one of the colleagues of Professor R.K. Singh and my good friend, Professor V.K. Shotriya. At least Professor R.K. Singh is knowing him very well. He, after the pandemic started, he's a good poet also. He's a professor in Delhi School of Economics and my old good friend. He wrote a poem where he said that, in Hindi it says, "Hum haaf rahe hain, bhag rahe hain." And in the continuation, he mentioned beautifully certain aspects that time. I think he wrote that poem about 1 year before, to best of my mind. At least it came to me in that. But that gives us a great cue in telling us that what was happening in the name of, or fake name of development, that we the humans perhaps lost the track of our life. We lost the track of humanity. We lost the track of definitely the topic of today, the sustainable development. We perhaps absolutely forgotten that whether this is the last generation that we are living, or there are going to be future generations. And that led to all those things, the sustainable development goals and all those things which have already been discussed. The humankind was aware, the UN was aware, all those goals were set, we used to discuss all. But see how badly we were detracked from all these things. So to me, the greatest advantage of this pandemic, if we find among a short list, is that we could realize, the humankind could realize that human is one, right? No boundaries. Like that famous song of that refugee film, which says that, पंछी नदियां पवन के झोंके, कोई सरहद नहीं है इनके लिए. इस पेंडेमिक ने बता दिया कोई सरहद नहीं है. All humans are same, rich or poor. We used to say we are developing country, not so developed. What has happened with the so-called developed and the most developed countries, right? With lot of pain in my mind, I say this to you. Okay, where was the human life not threatened, and with what variety? And those who are poor, most of you are listening this from Mumbai, the Dharavi situation. That time some of the friends in Mumbai said that if this could not be controlled, in this largest slum area in perhaps Asia, what will happen? But God saved. God saved. We never know. I mean, it proved that humans are one, and that feeling must have gone deep into the minds of humans everywhere. This is what I feel as the greatest advantage of this, and what the processing mentioned, that it's going to create a wound. That scar of that wound would remain, though the wound would be healed. Okay. Along with that, these feelings will also remain in the life of the humankind in future, which I find is a very important and positive aspect of the COVID situation, which has really tried to put us back on track. We all know that all these things have been discussed. Instances have been mentioned just before my previous speakers. Okay, that the vehement exploitation of nature, what was going on, and maybe that was the development, or I would say the so-called development, resulting in this vehement exploitation of nature, and in multiple ways. We have seen that once all these lockdowns and everything happened, okay, blue skies were there, clean water was there. We have seen the photographs of rivers, that the river bed could be seen so cleanly, water was so clean. The other species on the earth found that perhaps the life was there for them also. We used to talk about biodiversity. Were we really thinking about biodiversity earlier? Perhaps now we are more aware about the importance of biodiversity at large. Another great advantage, which you will all agree with me, is that in all the people around, villagers, the urbanized people like us, or for that matter, everybody, and that too around the globe, a deep feeling has been inculcated because of this event, that hygiene is important. our habit formation, particularly the younger children who are coming up, very young children at this stage who are just learning to live in the society, could develop a habit of hygiene. And because of that, of course, the pandemic has resulted in what we all know. But many medical practitioners have told me over this time that many other diseases which used to prevail very commonly, and the medicines for which used to be sold like anything, at a large mass every time, stopped being sold. Those medicines stopped being sold. Those disease impact have been very low. That is a point of discussion and study maybe, because we all are now focusing towards one major problem, rightly so. Perhaps we have ignored that advantage that we could get. People have become hygienically so improved, and that would definitely, cleanliness has improved like anything. You all know about it. I did not develop on that in detail. The consumption of fossil fuels, okay, of course, the example which Professor Singh was giving, that's true. But we have seen a day came when the negative rates of fossil fuels in many parts of the world, zero rates of the fossil fuels in many parts of the world, right? But if you say that this is the cost of at the cost of development, I would say let us redefine the concept of development. Many times, in their personal remarks, people, poets and others, and story writers, others have said, this is how nature has treated us for mistreating the nature by us earlier. Friends, Gite Saab, while dealing with this SDGs, he narrated all these 17. One or two things I would like to further elaborate on, which he already touched. Among these sustainable goals 17, okay, all these aspects which he also highlighted, economic, social, and environmental sustainability is extremely important. Okay, yes, rightly said by processing that what jolt to the world economy it has made, what jolt to the jobs, the economic divide and all that, undoubtedly so. But some of the positive aspects which or the aspects to be deliberated upon, I would like to add here is one of the SDGs. It says life below water and life above water. Many aspects regarding this can be discussed here. One aspect only I would like to highlight, which perhaps all of you already have idea about. See, they say there is a food chain, and that food chain is natural. Do you not think that in this wake of our living style, the living style of human beings, we vehemently went ahead with that human food chain? If to elaborate my point, if you look at the behavior of animals in the forests, they also depend on for their food on living things. Yes, but there is a great discipline, natural discipline in all those animals. We have seen the lion and the goat taking water at the same place. Goat is not worried because of the lion's presence there, because they know, if I can put it in these words, that lion is a disciplined creature, and lion will attack only when it needs food. And the goat knows lion is not having need of food at the moment, and I may safely go there and take water. Compare this behavior of an animal with that of the human beings. All that what have been said about Wuhan and other places, I don't want to go into those details. Also, I don't want to go into the details that who did it and who was the sufferer. Let us leave that point beside. But do you not feel that there have been reasons where in this regard that we ill-treated the life above the water and life below the water? And maybe the COVID-19 situation making an impact on the psyche of humankind may help us in treating this sustainable goal also in a better way. Of course, the other things in this list, like the clean water and sanitation, okay, yeah, we have to think about it, as was said by processing. All these issues have to be addressed in detail. And yes, the conference is yet to go till the end of this day, and many learned speakers and paper presenters will come and will really make a good contribution over there, make us more informed about it. But there are cues that we can take regarding positive side of sustainable development from COVID-19. But friends, all in all, if we look at it, we'll say, perhaps to me, perhaps it appears that this COVID situation was almost a given situation to us. Humankind could not have done much to avoid it. Perhaps. Maybe it is the nature's bounce back. Maybe nature's bounce back because humans created some situations for nature to bounce back. So what ahead? Many good points were raised by both Professor R.K. Singh and Professor Gite in this regard. I will also contribute my bit into it by my thought humbly. To me, it appears that, see, a time has come to innovate, to reinvent. As was mentioned very rightly, very interestingly, right? The skill life is as short as 5 years. What we academics have to do. In fact, a large academic community is listening to me at the moment. Great challenge before us. But friends, you will appreciate that in this regard also, you take academic community, you take other people, you take our students, our teacher friends, our researcher friends. We also innovated, we also looked at the things from a fresh angle, out of the box thinking over last 1.5 years when this all problem came. You see, I happen to be an old teacher, right? I was introduced to have more than 3 decades experience. I would say it is actually 4 decades experience that I have as a teacher. I'm an old teacher in the fraternity. Do you expect me that I started my career with teaching with chalk and board and all? And suddenly last year, March, they say, no, it's online teaching. I was head of department that time. I had to convince my colleagues it is online teaching. I myself never knew much about it with my little exposure to ICT. But by that time, yeah, I understand our all teaching fraternity has improved a lot in innovating better ways of teaching, perhaps reaching the youngsters, maintaining their morals significantly, and perhaps we could make a little dent into the difficult times. So what I would say in order to conclude, because my time perhaps has already been over, that this is the time that taking cues from it, taking guidance from it, looking at the positive side of it, let us innovate, let us rethink, let us reinvent. Particularly we academics are required to do this. To me, one important development, though again processing made a very genuine objection that when you go for digitization, right, this means that digitization leads to automation, and automation leads to leaving of your job. Interestingly, very nicely mentioned processing in this regard. But I would say, yes, that's true. But please appreciate this digitization, this automation has also been created by us. Maybe the nature, maybe the God, maybe Ma Saraswati, who have been, prayed in the beginning of this international convention, wants us to do better things than what we have been doing earlier. And you know that robotics have come, okay, in business and economics, to which arena we all mostly belong. Robotics have made a great intervention. How can you really avoid the loss of jobs because of this development? You cannot. But this perhaps tells you something better. You have been doing something inferior, it wants you to do better. Let us again, my humble request is, let us again look at the positive side of it, because perhaps we have been left with only that alternative. So with that, I thank the organizers for giving me this great opportunity. And whatever I have shared with you may be deliberated upon and tested to your satisfaction. I wish and pray for your welfare, your family members, friends' welfare, and for the welfare of the entire mankind. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your inspiring views and for motivating the delegates. Your enthusiastic words have surely made our delegates put on their thinking caps. Sir has rightly acknowledged the greatest advantage of pandemic. Something in the fray of rushing development has made us to ponder what has happened to the track of our life, where we are leading, and how we can put all this on the track. Time has come to innovate and rethink. Thank you, sir. Thank you once again for your inspiring and motivating words. Now we are moving to the end of this inaugural session. It is my distinct honor to pay gratitude to the esteemed guests who have devoted a great contribution in making this conference successful. With this, we conclude with the inaugural session of this conference. Thank you, Professor R.K. Singh and Professor G. Sorel, sir, for sharing your knowledge and for motivating the participants to focus on sustainability. Your enthusiastic words have really made us to think and innovate and rethink. We, on behalf of Clara's College of Commerce, convey our heartiest gratitude and sincerest thanks to all those who have made it a success by their desirable presence. I take this opportunity to propose vote of thanks to those who have directly and indirectly contributed to this conference organized by our institute. At the outset, I thank our esteemed guests. We are really enlightened with your knowledge and presence. We are thankful to our Honorable Director, Dr. Ajay Kaul sir, Prashant sir, for their motivation. I would also like to thank our principal for his enthusiastic support. I would also like to acknowledge Dr. Babita Kanojia for her continuous efforts that have really paved by getting an overwhelming response of participants for the publication and the conference. A special thanks to the organizing committee, teaching and non-teaching staff to their unflinching support and coordination. Our heartfelt thanks to the participants from various states of India for active participation. With these warm words and a kind message, we now move to the plenary session of today's conference. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
Am I audible?
May I now request Professor Shweta Shirode to continue with the plenary session. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. And on this note, good morning to one and all present here. I, Professor Shweta Shirode, would like to welcome everyone to the plenary session of one-day international multidisciplinary e-conference jointly organized by Clara's College of Commerce in collaboration of Mumbai University on 20th April 2021. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome our keynote speaker, Dr. Ravindra Rena, Professor Economics and Internationalization, NWU Business School, Northwest University, South Africa. Few words for the Professor Dr. Ravindra Rena. He is a profound academician and distinguished scholar in economics, writer, editor, advisor, motivational speaker, and public intellectual with over 29 years of teaching and research experience in Asia, Pacific, Africa, and European continents. Sir has bagged many awards and prizes. To name a few, he got the prestigious award of the Best Researcher 2011 from Namibia University of Science and Technology, and also the recipient of the esteemed award Man of the Year 2012, which was bestowed upon him by the American Biographic Institute, USA. Based on his extraordinary research contributions, the American Historical Society, USA, has been enlisted his profile in the World Who is Who International. Sir serves as the chairman of the panel of judges for economics of the Global Undergraduate Award based in Dublin, Ireland, United Kingdom. He wrote 10 books and published more than 130 articles in reputed national and international peer-reviewed journals and 35 book chapters to his credit. Sir is the founding editor-in-chief of an international journal of education, economics and development, and associate editor of the African Journal of Science, Technology, Innovation and Development, which are IBS's and Scopus Index journals published by Indus Science, UK, and Taylor, and Francis UK respectively. Thanks for the I request Professor Dr. Rena to kindly grace this conference with his words of wisdom. Once again, a very warm welcome to you, sir.
Sir, please unmute yourself.
Sir, kindly unmute yourself.
Please unmute. No. Yourself unmute. Professor Ravin.
Professor Ravindra Rena, kindly unmute yourself.
No, yourself. You are supposed to unmute. Professor Ravinder.
Yes, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Can you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Well, you muted me. That is why I couldn't able to unmute myself. That's what I was trying to show you the signal and also telling you the chat box to unmute me. Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, from different corners of India and maybe a few other countries of the world. It's indeed a great honor and privilege for me to be part of this international webinar organized by the Clara's College of Commerce and Mumbai, also University of Mumbai. I must acknowledge the presence of the great leaders that we just heard from, and Professor Sural ji and also Professor R.K. Singh ji and Madhukar ji, the principal of the college. I must thank the conference organizers for inviting me for this event, uh, particularly Dr. Babita and Dr. Sweta, and also our colleague and friend, Professor Malayadri, and all other participants. I must thank for your presence. So there are speakers that were speaking about different issues today, about sustainability issues, about environmental issues, about education issues. And they're also talking about the COVID issues. So today's my presentation would be in two parts. The first part, I try to touch upon the COVID issue. And then the second part, I will also touch upon the sustainability issues, because the conference theme is on the impact of COVID on the sustainable development. So, ladies and gentlemen, we all know that the COVID is absolutely terrifying us with the second, third waves across the globe. As of today, 20th of April 2021, and we got more than 141 million people got infected across the globe. And out of that, more than 3 million people died with this virus for probably about more than 13 months. And the countries that are been worst affected by this virus is America, probably about 33 million people got infected, close to 570,000 people died. 570,000 people, nearly 6 lakh people died in America alone from this pandemic. And the second worst hit country is none other than India, where we got more than 15.3 million people got infected, whereas close to 180,000 people died. And the list goes on. Brazil got infection rates close to 14 millions, and they got about 375,000 people died. And probably we got France, which has got more than 5.5 million people, and more than 100,000 people died in France. And then the last, probably Russia has got 4.5 million people and got also about 100,000 people got killed. So this is the global statistics. So just to give you some comparison. In the country where I'm sitting, South Africa, we got 1.57 million people got infected. So we are getting close to 1.6 million people got infected out of 60 million people. And then we have about 54,000 people died. So this is the South African statistics. Looking into the Mumbai statistics, within India, we got more than 265, 270,000 people got infected every single day, ladies and gentlemen. We must be thinking about that. We must take appropriate measures to mitigate this kind of infection. So 265, 270,000 people per one single day. If we continue to move with this direction, where are we going to stand actually? What is going to happen to Indian population? We got the second largest populated country in the world with about close to 1.3 billion people. Now, 1.3 billion people, if we do not take care of ourselves, what is going to happen to us? We must think about it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you look at Mumbai alone, Mumbai, we got 3.8 million people infected and more than 61,000 people died in Mumbai alone, ladies and gentlemen. And the list goes on, Uttar Pradesh, and we got Karnataka, we got Kerala and many other countries that proceed, that are in the ranking. If you look at Africa as a continent, we got 55 countries in Africa. The infection rates in African continent where we got also the similar amount of population with that of India. 1.3 billion people in India, 1.3 billion people in African continent of 55 countries. What is the infection rates in Africa? We got 4.5 million people infected in all of African continent. And so we must think about that. So Mumbai alone is almost having the similar number of infected cases of African continent, and the death cases probably more than 61,000. This is the scary point, ladies and gentlemen. We must all think about it. Let me take you back. The pandemics are not new to us. It has been keep coming from time to time on regular basis. We got the Black Death, which is popularly known as plague disease, which killed almost 35 to 40% of the population living on the planet around 1346 to 1353. In 7 years period, about close to 170 millions to 200 million people got killed. When? About 700 years ago. So ladies and gentlemen, you must think about that. Our population 700 years ago, it's not even half a billion. We were probably about 450 million people. From that 450 million, 170 to 200 million people killed by plague disease, which we can able to tackle that kind of disease today. Now, 100 years ago, Spanish flu, which started in 1918, 1920, that killed 50 million people. So if you look at the infection rates of Spanish flu, that was probably about 500 million people got infected, ladies and gentlemen, in 3 years period. So from 500 million people, 50 million people killed. That means 10% of the population that were infected were killed. Mahatma Gandhi, the father of the nation of India, also got infected by Spanish flu. When he was living in South Africa for more than 20 years. And then when he comes from South Africa to India, and that's when he also got infected by the Spanish flu. He survived. So India alone experienced with the Spanish flu about 17 to 18 million people. Out of 50 million people in the world, 17 to 18 million people died in India alone, ladies and gentlemen. We must think about that. So this is about the pandemic situation. Now, when we look at the sustainability issues that we are talking about, the previous speakers, Professor R.K. Singh and Professor Soralji, and also our beloved colleague, principal of the college, Dr. Madhukarji, also mentioned various points about the sustainability issues. The sustainability issues arise, and the whole world begin to realize the problem of the sustainability, climate change, only recently, about 1987, when there was a conference popularly known as Montreal Conference in Canada. That was 1987. So about 33, 34 years ago, the world leaders realized that probably in 1960s and 70s also, there are few conferences that are being conducted across the globe pertaining to the climate change issues. But that is probably one of the protocol that we look at, the Montreal Protocol. Then we have a Kyoto Protocol in 1997. And then we have other protocols probably from time to time. So now the issue here is that we have a terrible sustainable development issues. We all begin to think that we're going to live here permanently. Ladies and gentlemen, we should know that the people sitting here in this platform, in the coming 50 to 70 years time, none of us going to be alive in this world. We must think about that. If you think about that, you're going to alive, then we are fooling ourselves. If you think that whatever the statement that I'm making here is incorrect, then that is up to you to think about. So we are going to leave this world. The planet where we are living is a permanent one. And we are all guests here. We are not the hosts here. So the host can treat you to a certain extent, but the guest, you being the guest, you are trying to mistreat the host, actually. That's what the problem is about. So if you look at the situations, we have the population of the world today is 7.8 billions. Out of this 7.8 billions, more than 1 billion people living in the slum areas. I'd like to touch upon some of the slums here. Orangi is the biggest slum in the world with about 2.4 million people living near Karachi. A small town, Orangi, near Karachi, has got 2.4 million people, ladies and gentlemen, in the slum areas. Now, the population of Botswana and population of Namibia is less than what Orangi's population, a slum area in Pakistan. So Namibia and Botswana, they are two independent countries. And the population of these two countries are smaller than the Orangi, where there's a slum area. The people are living in slum. That is the biggest slum in the world. Now, if you look at the history of the slums, we got Neja from Latin America, Mexico. Neja is having about 1.2 million people living there. And we have probably Dharavi, all our people living in Maharashtra, Mumbai, we know about Dharavi. Dharavi is only 2.1 square kilometer land, ladies and gentlemen. It was developed as a slum during 1884, probably more than 150 years back. There was a slum that was scrapped up in order to accommodate the poor people migrating from Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, and other North Indian states. So that Dharavi today is accommodating more than 1 million people, ladies and gentlemen. What is the area size? Is only 2.1 square kilometers land. What is the density of population living in Dharavi is probably about 500,000 people, 500,000 people living in one, that is 500,000 people in 1 square kilometer land. So that is the density, which can be considered as the largest slum in the whole Asian continent. That's about Dharavi for us. Now, when you come to African continent, we got so many slum areas in African continent as well. Kibera is one of the biggest slums in African continent, based in Kenya and close to Nairobi, capital city. I passed through that probably about 10 years ago while I was visiting Kenya. I also went to Kibera as biggest slum in the African continent. Close to 700 to 800,000 people, 8 lakhs people are living in that small area, Kibera. Then when you come to South Africa, the land where I'm staying here, we have Kailicha, close to Cape Town. Those of you visited Cape Town city, which is considered to be the most cleanest and beautiful cities in the world, probably in the top 10 cities, Cape Town ranks number 8. So close to Cape Town, about 30 to 40 kilometers distance, Kailicha is the slum area where there are more than 400,000 people are living there. We got Soweto, where Nelson Mandela, father of the nation, South Africa, come from. Soweto is also the slum, which is close to Johannesburg. Johannesburg is about 300 kilometers far away from the city where I'm staying. So these are the slum areas. The slum areas are being generated. What is happening with the slum areas and how that is impacting on the sustainable development? We have to think about it. All in all, the people living in the slum areas is 1 billion, meaning that if we assume that the population of the world today is 7.8 billions, Now, from the 7.8 billion, for every 8 people, 1 person is living in the slum areas. We must think about that. So, although the country, the Dharavi slum of Maharashtra can able to contribute $1 billion per year to the national income of India, but 1 million people living in Dharavi in a very pathetic situation. We got so many waterborne diseases. People are talking about different diseases that we have. And Professor R.K. Singh was mentioning about the sky that he cannot see. For the last 37 years, the sky that he used to see, the blue sky that he used to see in the village while he was living there, and while he is living in Delhi for the past 37 years, he cannot see a blue sky. In Maharashtra, in Mumbai, in Pune, in Nagpur, in any other major city, in Hyderabad, or in Madras, or in Bangalore, or in Calcutta, we fail to see. We really love to see the blue sky, but we hardly see the blue sky, ladies and gentlemen. If you come to the African continent, every country in Africa, you would able to see the blue sky on every single day. So that is the beauty of African continent, one side. But on the other side, if you look at the worst hit polluted cities in the world, among the top 20 cities, about 13 cities are coming from India, ladies and gentlemen. It is a big shame on us. And who are the culprits here? The culprits are none other than Indians. So we are the people, we love to pollute our environment. We love to live in a cleanly and greenly, probably safest and the best place on this planet. We want to build a house in a beautiful place where there is no pollution, where there's full of greenery, but we don't commit ourselves. How we have to contribute for the cleanliness and greenliness, ladies and gentlemen. We all think about that ourselves. We don't think about the planet. We don't think about the other fellow human beings. If you go to the railway stations of India, and if you go to the bus stations, even the airports and the ports, we will see a lot of pollution, a lot of garbage is being thrown everywhere. Educated community, people sitting here, you question yourself how many times that you throw the garbage onto the roads, how many times that you throw the garbage into the rivers. And now today, ladies and gentlemen, 80% of the water that has been supplied by the municipalities of India, it is polluted. It is dangerous to drink. And the people who are drinking that kind of water, there's no safe drinking water, ladies and gentlemen. 50% of the water that our people are drinking on a daily basis in India is not good for us. The diseases that are been cropping up before the coronavirus pandemic, we got lungs disease, we got kidney diseases, we got skin diseases, we got various other diseases that are cropping from not only air polluted environment, but also the water that we drink. So 50% of the water of India is absolutely polluted. More than 2 lakhs people, 200,000 people die every year just because of the polluted water, ladies and gentlemen. We must think about that. Then who are doing this? Not the government. Mumbai government or probably the Narendra Modi's government cannot do these things. It is every citizen of India is equally responsible to take care of our environment. We have launched Swachh Bharat campaign a few years ago. A Swachh Bharat campaign is not going to be materialized unless and otherwise every citizen of India, whether they are staying inside or outside the country, they must also take part in that campaign. If a foreign tourist comes to India, if they are traveling by train, if there is any garbage, they will put it in their pockets. But how many of us sitting here today, how many of us sitting in our country would able to put in our pockets that garbage? And we must question ourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, if you go to any other corner of the world, there are cities, they are clean and neat and green. If you go to those cities, the cleanest cities that we have, there is absolutely pure air that we can able to breathe in. Bahamas is one of the cities. We got Denmark. There are some European countries like Netherlands, Denmark, and probably Iceland. These are the cleanest countries where there is probably no much uh, air pollutions. Who are keeping that? It is the people of the country. So, ladies and gentlemen, we may blame the population. We may think that it is because of the overpopulation we are having these problems. Absolutely not true. Look at Tokyo. Tokyo is the largest populated city in the world with about 37 million people living there in Tokyo alone. That is more than the population of Canada. Canada has got only 35 million people. Now, Tokyo people, go to Tokyo and see how they are living there. So whether it is Mumbai, Mumbai has got more than the 20 million population living there in Mumbai city alone, ladies and gentlemen. That is the population size much higher than Zimbabwe, much higher than many other African countries, many other European countries. And those people living there in Mumbai, we must be responsible. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are the people, we are the culprits who are creating problem for ourselves. If we want green India and clean India, every individual, first of all, we must be clean and green. If every citizen is clean and green, automatically the country will be clean and green. Automatically the world also will be clean and green. The forests are considered to be they are the probably lungs of this world. They are the one which are taking the carbon dioxide that we are releasing, and they are the one which is releasing the pure air for us. Now, the forests have been cut down. There are probably a number of trees that have been cut down. In the name of spirituals, Hindu spirituals, if somebody died, we cut the tree. We burn the bodies with that kind of wood. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that, we are cutting millions and millions of trees every year. Probably more than 11 million people die every year in India alone, and that times probably 60 to maybe 120 kilos of wood that we are cutting. So how many trees that we are cutting every year? And how that is going to impact on our environment? We must be able to think about it. If you realistically think the garbage that we are throwing, the bottle, plastic bottle we drink the water from, if you throw the plastic bottle, it takes minimum 100 years to 450 years to decompose that bottle. The diapers that we are using for our children, probably use and throw diapers, that will also take probably about 450 years to decompose the diapers. How many millions of diapers that are being used today in India, in different parts of the world? If you throw them into the rivers, if you throw to the ocean of Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal and Indian Ocean, what is going to happen to us? Cigarette butts, there are so many smokers that we have in India. If you throw a cigarette butt, to decompose the cigarette butt alone, it takes 10 to 12 years later. We all love the silk sarees, silk clothes, Banaras silk, and there are Gadwal silk and so many other silk that we have. And if we wanted to throw a silk cloth, to decompose the silk cloth, it takes about 40 to 50 years later. So if we begin to throw, and where this garbage is going to go away, it is going to reflect on us. It is going to create problem for us. Look at Singapore. Singapore is only 700 square kilometers land, probably much smaller than many of our districts of India. And Singapore, if you throw a garbage somewhere, in less than 2 hours time, they are collecting the garbage, they are generating energy from that garbage. We are the 5th largest economy in the world, and we are the 2nd largely populated country in the world. But we don't do such kind of innovative technologies where we can try to regulate our garbage situation. So with the interest of time, I would like to conclude by stating that the environment we all would like to live. This is our planet. We are here temporarily. So within this temporary period of time, we all should take the responsibility. You want to live in a clean house, but you don't want to keep the clean environment. It doesn't correspond with each other. If you want to improve the lives of the people, you have to improve the life of every individual. So in the similar fashion, if you wanted to have the better environment for ourselves, there is no Kyoto Protocol is required for us. There is no Montreal Protocol is required for us. There's no climate change conventions by United Nations are required by us. If every citizen of this world is responsible, whether they are educated people or uneducated people, and if we try to protect the environment, if we try to clean everything, at least once in a month, all our educated community, they try to collect the garbage in their environment. And if we could do that, Hyderabad Municipal Corporation cannot do to clean the environment. Mumbai Corporation cannot do to clean the environment. So every individual living in that area, at least once in a month, if we could able to collect the garbage and clean that mess created by others, and you don't create the mess for others. And with this discipline, we can protect our environment and we can have a sustainable future. Otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, United Nations has got 17 goals, and probably by 2030, even in 500 years time, we cannot able to achieve. Forget about the 15 years period, starting from 2015 to 2030, we cannot able to achieve those goals, ladies and gentlemen. The goal can be achieved only if every citizen who is living here on temporary basis, we are living here only between the age group of 50 to maybe 100 years time. So within this 100 years time, what the best you can do as a human being? If you could able to do, then we can always have a sustainable future for ourselves. So with this, a few remarks from my side, ladies and gentlemen, and I would like to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity. And also thanks the listeners and the participants from different parts of India and other parts of the world. Thank you, Varanga.
Thanks for the scholarly thoughts shared by you, Professor Dr. Rena. Once again, we are extremely privileged to have you here with us. Before taking this conference ahead, a general request to all the participants. If the Zoom link gets disconnected, all of you kindly connect with the same link. Now I would take this conference ahead with our second eminent speaker, Dr. P. Malyadri. Dr. P. Malyadri, ICSSR Research Institute, Ministry of HRD, Government of India, has obtained doctorate in commerce in 1991 from Sri Venkateshwara University. He rendered services in government with 30 years of experience of teaching, research, administration, training, and consultancy. A prolific writer, Dr. Malyadri has authored 6 books and 143 research papers in various national and international journals of repute, including Scopus Indexed. Dr. Malyadri reviewed more than 2,000 articles for the international peer-reviewed journals. Dr. Malyadri is presently member, academic, advisory board, Uttaranchal University, Dehradun. He also recognized research supervisor to guide PhD scholars in the Department of Commerce and Management, Bharat University, Coimbatore, and Kanchi University, Kanchipuram, Tamil Nadu. He served as program officer of the National Service Scheme for 5 years and conducted several programs and received outstanding awards. Dr. Malyadri served as principal for more than a decade in affiliated colleges of Osmania University and Rayalaseema University, and also served as director in JNTUH Affiliated Engineering College. He got an award of senior fellowship from ICSSR New Delhi and is presently as a ICSSR Senior Fellow at Center for Economic and Social Studies. He is also serving as inspecting authorities appointed by Ministry of Minority Affairs, Government of India, to conduct inspections of the NGOs, institutions, skill development center across the country for 2 years. I request Professor Dr. Malyadri to kindly grace this conference with his words of wisdom.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope it is audible.
Yes, sir, you are.
Thank you. It is extremely happy to associate with the one-day international multidisciplinary conference conducted by Clara's College of Commerce in collaboration with University of Mumbai, and Indian Accounting Association. I am very much thankful to Principal Dr. Madhukar and also Dr. Babita Kanoji, who is the coordinator of the program. Respected Chief Guest of the Day, Professor R.K. Singh, the Guest of Honor, Professor Soral, and my dear friend, Professor Ravinder Rena. Today, I appreciate the Clara's College for taking up a wonderful title on impact of COVID-19 on sustainable development, because today COVID is the buzzword. It is disheartening to note that the world has changed dramatically for the last 1 year. Lots of people have lost their lives to the pandemic, and economic activity has slowed down significantly. During the year 2020-21, we will most probably experience the worst recession since the Great Depression, with the global economic output expected to shrink about 3 to 5%. Of course, the situation looks worse in countries that have been particularly hard hit by the virus. The COVID crisis is huge, in fact, especially for low and middle class income countries. So the entire universe is in dwindling with the economic position. There is a significant reduction in finances and risks are increasing developing economies which are unable to recover from the situation. No doubt, poverty has been recorded all-time high as the unemployment geared up. There is no exception between developed and developing countries for this COVID, undoubtedly. Consumption paralyzed because of low incomes and unemployment situations. India was greatly affected by the COVID pandemic in various sectors. Intending to get hold of situation, India announced its first nationwide lockdown in March 2020, which led to the economic slowdown. India also encountering severe economic crisis as majority of the population depends on unorganized sector. Of course, we are all aware organized sector is playing vital role in the Indian economy. It is the major component and contributor in GDP. India's quarterly GDP was estimated to grow up by 0.5% in the last quarter of financial year 2021. This was a significant improvement from the time between April and June 2020, when the country went to lockdown. As a matter of fact, the COVID has been at the center of loss of lives and livelihood on a massive scale. Especially in India, the economy alongside the population also requires nursing back to health. The estimated cost of full lockdown was a whopping of $26 billion US. Again, lockdown is imposed in Delhi since yesterday, and many states in the country are planning to go for imposing lockdown. The impact of lockdown in India slashed GDP growth forecast for financial year 2021. Among the agencies that estimated growth, Bernstein predicted a contraction of 7%, while the ADB, Asian Development Bank, foreseeing growth of 4%. So India recorded a growth of 4.2% in the previous fiscal year. So the slowest is in 11 years. Secondly, MSMEs are facing severe working capital management. Manufacturing affected and consequently exports and record level low, subsequently immediate effect on foreign exchange reserves. India's manufacturing industry is highly diversified. A substantial majority of all industrial workers are employed in the millions of small-scale handicrafts enterprises. It is a fact that 30% of the total population in India depend on daily wages for survival. Think of what about migrants? Petroleum products was the most affected commodity in terms of exports from India, a decline of about 32% in January 2021 compared to the same month in the previous year. Consequently, international trade took a huge hit as well. In December 2020, imported commodities, especially crude petroleum and other products, faced more than 70% decline compared to the previous year. Rupee value all-time low and nearing to rupees 75 rupees per dollar. The effects of crude oil increase day by day may lead to high inflation. In addition to all the negatives in economy, India has got a positive side of high agriculture yielding. So we are really thankful to the farmers for the excellent growth of agriculture inputs. This helps people to sustain survival. Household income in India was drastically impacted due to the lockdown. The entire world is currently fighting the same battle, that is fight against COVID-19. As each day passes, contentions about the global economy, political, economic orders, and healthcare systems continues to prevail in a myriad of discussions. The cost of the crisis is in terms of loss of lives, which is very, very painful, and the effects on the sustainable development prospects are worrisome. Through many economic and social political avenues, this pandemic is heralded to affect the global development at a vast scale. COVID-19 and its effects are significant setback in progress, and it has presented a unique challenge in accomplishing several things for the development of the country. The Sustainable Development Goals entails a vision of the peace of prosperity for the whole world. But this pandemic has uncovered the true colors of nations across the globe and has brought into question the very growth in achieving these goals. So COVID-19 does not just come in the way of attainment of sustainable development goals, but calls for a reevaluation of its timeline. Since this onslaught has hindered the growth of its accomplishment. First of all, the pandemic has created more isolated economics with the closure of borders and international migration. There have also been various notions that have raised suspicion among nations. Inevitably, the pandemic severely affected the good health and well-being and across the world. People are getting sick and dying from the COVID because healthcare system were overwhelmed by the virus, and the doctors are unable to care the other illness as well. That is a big task in the world. The pandemic has deprived children of their regular education, and which impacted the quality of education. It is, as a matter of fact, it is estimated that nearly 90% of the students worldwide are out of schools and has exacerbated the inequality between the richest and poor students. It is also estimated that education online is out of reach for at least 500 million students throughout the world. That is a too pathetic situation in the world. Women are facing more consequences of the pandemic than men. Worldwide, if you can see, 70% of all health and social workers are women, putting women directly in harm's way of the virus itself, because women are likely doing more domestic and care work than men during pandemic situation. Not only this, because of stay-at-home orders, women across the world are also being harmed more often by abusing partner. Even though the world has taken on the norms of social distancing and quarantine, we witness a heavy reliance on digital connectivity. Still, the inability of being accommodated in virtual world lead challenges in the dimensions of holistic developing, causing higher levels of poverty and hunger. Therefore, inflation has collapsed around the world, and the global economy meets its deepest recession since the Great Depression. And since last year, March, the COVID-19 brought business activities to a near standstill. Although many services have moved into digital space, there are still almost closures of traditional business and reduced economic activities. It is really a pathetic situation in India. Tourism is another important industry which affected a lot due to COVID-19. The stress levels of the people have also increased during the pandemic situation. The virus has already done significant damage and will continue to be more if government do not act swiftly to protect the most vulnerable pandemic situations. So the government role is more. The government has to play a vital role in this regard, along with the private players. The government should give first and topmost priority to the healthcare system in the present pandemic situation to control the disease and mitigate the impacts and effects of COVID. So government should plan and create a map to get recovery from COVID, and that ensures no one left behind. The coronavirus is an enormous challenge for all of us, but it is also chance for a new beginning. In spite of all this, the COVID pandemic have pushed all the organizations to reinvent the way they operate and find a new equilibrium. However, every crisis presents an opportunity. It is an opportunity time for organizations, especially to business and industry, to evaluate how they build business resilience to global and local crises. Demands for long-term strategies to build rich inherent metrics that help them to shield from future shock in the system. The pandemic showcases an opportunity to act in solidarity as the world continues to deal with the challenges thrown by the pandemic. We can't shift our eyes away from the achievements. So we must seek to turn the crisis into an opportunity and ramp up with the necessary actions. So the areas that most fruitful in this respect are sustainability, digitalization, and innovation. These three words, buzzwords, are inevitable for us. A truly transformative recovery from COVID is needed, focusing on reducing risk in future cases and bridging much closer the inclusive and sustainable development. So if you can see, nearly 370 million school children are missing the free school meals. They rely on it. It is also a pathetic situation in the country, which the poor school children are facing. Last but not least is that there is a drastic impact of COVID on health of the people. Before COVID, there was a progress in many health areas at an accelerating rate, but COVID pandemic is devastating health system globally. So there is a need of the hour to take more initiative steps from government side, corporates, and the public to come out of this pandemic COVID-19 situation. So now the corporates has to play a vital role. The total funds of CSR, should be spent on healthcare in view of COVID virus. That is most important. And there is a time where state governments can also focus on the job creation in the same sector, such as strengthening labor schemes, local startups, and small medium enterprises to ensure employment for these migrants. Government can address this by pursuing policies that have already proved successful previously, such as measures to improve the energy efficiency of buildings, which created jobs, has reduced the energy bills, and helps the environment. So the government needs to focus on 4 areas which can help the most vulnerable of our population and strengthen healthy living for all. So therefore, all the stakeholders should be more focused on the webinars, online workshops, seminars that would be benefited commercially. So in this connection, many funding agencies like Ajim Premji University, ICSSR, Indian Council of Social Science Research, has announced in inviting research projects on impact of COVID. That is a welcome sign. So being the academicians, we have to carry out research projects on impact of COVID on different sectors, so that how best we may be able to provide good inputs for the development of sustainable development. So thank you very much for the wonderful opportunity in international conference. Thank you. Over to the organizers. Thank you.
Thanks for such knowledgeable thoughts of sustainable development and government initiatives for employment of migrants, and focusing on webinars, workshops, and many more things that are being shared by you, sir, during pandemic situation. Once again, we are highly fortunate to hear from such a prominent personality. Without taking any more time ahead, I would move forward with our next speaker. Our next speaker is Principal Dr. G. Kalkoti, BOS in Business Economics, UAM, MVM College of Commerce. He is a recognized MPhil Guide, YCMOU, recognized PhD Guide of University of Mumbai. Sir has been elected unopposed as Chairman of the Board of Studies in Business Economics, University of Mumbai, convener and member of Local Inquiry Committee of University of Mumbai to various colleges, convener and member of Expert Committee of University of Mumbai to various colleges, member Expert Committee, National Board of Accreditation, New Delhi, member of Subcommittee for Credit-Based Semester and Grading System for MCOM of University of Mumbai, member of All India Association for Educational Research, member of Association Indian College Principal, member of Maharashtra Commerce Association.
It's okay.
So,
it's
member
okay.
of Editorial Board of an International
moderation. Yeah. Thank you. For
so I would request Dr. G. Kalkoti to kindly grace this conference with his valuable perceptions.
Yes. Thanks so much. And due to paucity of time, I requested Madam to cut short the introduction of mine. As a matter of fact, rather than speaking, my role is to moderate the plenary session. So I would request, rather than me giving a speech, let us have this as interactive sessions. Professor Ravindra Rena sir and Professor Malyadri Pacha sir, I request both of you, let us now dwell on the discussion of the topic called as the impact of COVID-19 and the sustainable development. Let us have a round of discussion on this. I'm very thankful to both of you for having given the elaborate lecture, particularly Dr. Ravindra Rena sir. He compared the Mumbai economy in particular, Maharashtra economy and Indian economy in general with that of South African economy with a lot of statistical figures. So your idea of green and clean India is well taken, but who should own up the responsibility is a $1 billion question. Similarly, Dr. Malyadri Pacha was very, very particular, and he made a point saying that this is a situation where everyone should come close to each other. And he also stressed the importance of how the total funds of CSR should be thoroughly utilized for the coming out of this pandemic situation. And he also said, all the research scholars who are attending this, there are a lot of funds made available for research scholars to write innovative papers so that it can take the policy makers way ahead with their innovative ideas. Now, sir, we will enter into the discussion part. The first question is, it is the repetition of what happened a year back. Actually, it started with COVID-19, took entire 2020. Now 4 months almost are over in 2021 also. So are we ready for losing another quarter of our economic development? Are we ready for going ahead with the same kind of new normalcy that we call as for another academic year also? So what will be your take on this? 1 minute each for both Ravindra sir and Malayadri sir, so that I can take for the next question, this being a plenary session. Over to you, Ravindra sir.
Well, Dr. Gopalji, thank you very much for the opportunity. Indeed, my take would be like, it is a critical situation, the COVID on the one side and the economy on the other side. So they are the two sides of the same coin. If we toss a coin, either we get a head or probably a tail. Now, if we restrict the lockdown scenarios, where there are a number of states in India, they're trying to impose the lockdowns for the past 1 week or 10 days, and what would happen to the economy? And we are compromising with the economic development. So, but we need to, our Indian people should try to take the precautions which are suggested by the WHO, World Health Organization, and AIMS, All India Institute of Medical Sciences.
So would you like to say we have not taken enough precautions last year because of the—
That's right, yes.
Okay.
You see, we got Kumbh Mela. We respect Kumbh Mela, for example, for the past 12 years. Once in 12 years, we celebrate, even in Maharashtra, Nasik, and there are many spots of India, we do celebrate Kumbh Mela. We respect that. It is happening for thousands of years, Kumbh Mela. But we need to make some kind of precautions. If we don't probably maintain the social distancing, for example, we got a density of population of 470 people living in 1 square kilometer land of India, whereas in China, such a second largest economy, there is only 160 people living there. In South Africa, only 18 people are living in 1 square kilometer. So 470 people, maintaining social distance will be difficult for us, but it is not impossible for us. As long as we could able to put the mask on, wash the hands, probably respect the rule of law, and maybe probably we can able to protect each other. So that needs to be done. While the economy is opened up, the schools, colleges are opened up in some cases, but still every citizen of the country, if they could able to equally take the precautions. There is a video that I was watching a few days ago that 4 gentlemen teaching a small boy on how to wear the mask, but none of those 4 guys They wear the mask themselves.
Yeah, so
I mean,
charity has
we need to have
charity has to begin at okay,
exactly
okay,
at
fine.
home. At home.
The point well
So
taken, sir.
yeah, it is. There is a huge toll on our economy because our economy was contracted more than 25% for the past 1 year or so. Our economy should supposed to be the $5 trillion economy by 2024. Now, this pandemic came and hit us very badly. And under this situation like this, we cannot afford to go further without opening the economy one side. But at the same time, we cannot afford to lose our own people. So we must
That's
strike a balance there. So balancing
striking
is
the
only
balance.
precautionary measures. I
Okay,
think
sir.
that would
Thank
be
you.
my suggestion.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very well. Malayadri, sir, what's your take on this?
Yeah. As Professor Ravindra said, rightly said, in fact, during the critical situation, our Indians must be taken meticulous care how we may be able to rescue the challenges. Undoubtedly, this situation is not a permanent. It is only a temporary. Only for some time. Only for some
Yes.
time. It is
So last
assured.
year we thought the same. Last April, May, June, July we
Yes,
thought.
yes, that is
But
true.
1 year is over now.
But we are not taken proper care. Since it was little bit reduced, automatically our people are jumping, started going everywhere without mask. So we have to use the mask at least for 2 years. At least for 2 years. Otherwise, we can't.
It should become the part of our attire.
Yeah, and it is quite interesting to note that 70% of the people are depending upon the agriculture. So the growth of agriculture is not at all deteriorated. Is no doubt the growth. There is a growth of agriculture purely. So in that case, we are not at all be backward.
Okay.
And in terms of other sectors, no doubt we are equal to other countries. We may be backward, and everything is downsized, and so therefore in this connection the government and other corporate players has to play a vital role. As I said already, the total funds of corporate social responsibility, see, 2% of the profits should be spent exclusively for this pandemic situation. No other purpose should be spent. These funds, definitely we will come out of this COVID. That's
yes, sir.
Thank you.
Now, quickly, I come to both of you again.
Yeah.
One crisp question, one sentence answer. What will be the future of hospitality and food industry? Hospitality and food industry, hotel industry. Yeah. What will be your take on that?
Yeah,
they're almost closed now.
Yeah, definitely.
Globally, yeah.
Yeah, if you can.
Sir, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, Malayadriji, you can go on, and
please.
then I will go after you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Well, that's a wonderful question, Gopalji, that food industry is one of the important industries in the global economy, which contribute more than $5 trillion actually to the global economy. Out of $85 trillion economy, food alone can contribute about $5.5 trillion. So now, because of the current scenario, most of those industries are closed down, and people are even skeptical to go and buy the food outside. So therefore, this pandemic scenario, in the coming 3 years' time, there will be a big problem for the food industry. That would be my suggestion.
Okay. Malayadri sir, what's your take on that?
Taking all measures, there is no problem with regard to hotel industry or hospitality. Taking all measures, definitely it will flourish. It's not at all a problem.
So, but they're already closed now in most of the part of India, particularly in Maharashtra and Mumbai. Hotels have been closed for almost 3 weeks.
Yeah, it is all the norms of the government. Definitely, it is whenever the norms are imposed, definitely it is supposed to be closed. But the word is dangerous. But meticulous care should be taken so that we can flourish.
Okay, okay, thank you. Acha, now coming to the major and significant announcement made by the government. That is, from 1st May 2021, all those who are above 18 will also be given inoculation,
Yes,
vaccination.
yes.
Now, with that, how much improvement in the scenario can we expect? Because this also includes major portion of the college going students, particularly in higher education institutions. So can we hope for the better academic year 21-22?
Yeah.
Specific question is, with the inoculation being given to 18 plus also, can we hope for better academic year 21-22? Is specific question.
Sir, I think if I answer that quickly, that answer would be no. You see, vaccinations are only temporary, and the vaccination that we produced probably, for the past few months, though we try to help more than 92 countries in the world, giving them donations, and by ignoring our own people. But when it comes to the specific question whether the children of 18 years and above, if they get vaccinated, can we bring our education system back to the normal? It would be no, because of the fact that every citizen, first of all, they should take care of the, those whatever the precautions that we are talking
Standard
about.
operations. Standard operations.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it is just like washing hands and using sanitizers. How many of our people are using that? Particularly the youth, they don't care unless until it happened to them, or even if it happened to their own family member, they're not bothering themselves. So that is the sad part of it, because the population magnitude is so high in our country, and the student population at the higher education level, we got more than 220 million people, and it is next to impossible for us to regulate the movement and impose the disciplinary actions. That is what probably the answer would be no for that.
So vaccination alone cannot help. SOPs will
No,
continue.
it doesn't help it.
Malyadri sir, you agree with him?
No,
No, you don't
in
agree.
my
Okay.
opinion,
Yeah.
if it is vaccinated for above 18 years, definitely the pandemic issue will be little bit reduced. Little bit reduced. People may coming forward to take medical care. And if at all, if anybody got virus, it may be very less. So therefore, they can do their work without any problem. They need not be hospitalized, but there is a problem. The production levels of vaccination, question mark.
Okay.
Whether the governments are able to provide or supply the vaccines within the stipulated time, it is a question mark.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Now, last but one question. It is observed that the countries like Israel, Maldives, and some other countries are not much affected. In fact, they are not affected at all as compared to other countries of the world. What could be the reason? What could be the secret of the success of these countries for not being affected by COVID-19?
Sir, one thing is that discipline. Discipline plays a vital role. Even Fiji is also least affected. Probably the number of cases in Fiji is less than 2,000. So Maldives is one of the tourist destinations. They're depending upon the tourists, but still the imposition of the rules and regulations, if everybody, including the tourists, they strictly follow, then they can able to mitigate this. And the same thing goes with Israel, and same thing goes to many other countries, even Vietnam. Vietnam is also probably one of the largely populated countries with more than 80 million people. They could able to still control the virus. So only challenge here is that everybody should take part and take precautions. Even Tirupati Balaji cannot save, or probably Sai Baba, Shirdi Sai Baba cannot save the people. It is the people themselves that can save themselves. So I think that is my suggestion. Thank you.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
And,
I support the statement of Professor.
okay, great, great. Now, one last question. One last
Yeah.
question. What will be the fate of these college-going children? They have not seen the college campus for the past 1 year, and they have not seen their teacher's face. There is no interactive teaching, learning, and evaluation. So, if this situation continues, if even in the next academic year we continue like this only, what will be the overall personality development aspect of these college students?
Sir, that is an important question. In fact, see, the challenge is that we believe in Indian education philosophy that Guru Shishya Sambandh, the relationship that is between the Guru and the disciple, is very strong. Historically, even if we talk about, but that has been diluted, particularly in the event of this pandemic, with the online education. The relationship between the teacher and the guru has been diluted very much. There's no relationship actually. When I teach my students eye to eye with eye to eye contact, then I can transfer the knowledge, I can disseminate the knowledge. If I teach only the online, there is no going to reach them and effectively or efficiently. So it is going to have a tough challenge, and we need to bring whatever the number of universities that we started with the digital and online mode, that is not going to be efficient. It will be temporary. It can do something, but not as efficient as face-to-face or offline teaching. So there is nothing can replace the face-to-face, and the relationship between disciple and the guru must be re-established with the offline teaching. Otherwise, we cannot run like this. Thank you.
Malyadri sir?
So during the situation, there is no other go without online education. But during online classes, the problem, as the acute problem, as Professor Ravindra said, who is listening the class? We don't know. He just attends, he provide attendance. He may not listen. We don't know. That is a big task. Anyway, if all the students are responsible, now we have to educate the students about the responsibility. We have to educate the children about the responsibility. Say, the small kids, while we are using the mask, they think that this nose cannot be, this should be hide like dryer. People may, the children may think like that. Oh, it is a secret part. Nose is a secret part. That's why. Hidden like it. Yeah, it should be used always. So therefore, here we have to imbibe the responsibilities of the students first. So if at all the students feels the responsibility, definitely even online education will also flourish for some time only. Not it is not a permanent measure. It is temporary. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you both of you for your valuable inputs. And now, as the moderator, I conclude this plenary session by saying that both the speakers have been wonderful. They have put forth their thoughts, particularly the thought of Ravindra sir, clean and green country. That is the only solution for fighting with this COVID-19. And also Malyadri sir said CSR has to come forward and use entire fund for the improvement of the system. And now all of us should accept this new normal. SMS. SMS, sanitization. M, mask. And S, social distance. This is going to be the new normal, right from small child to the septuagenarian. All of us will have to live with this. And on that note, I thank you for being a good speakers for good plenary session. And I also thank the organizers of Clara College for organizing this wonderful conference on the contemporary topic and giving me an opportunity to interact with these two wonderful people around. On that note, I take you all back to Shweta Shirode, madam, to conclude this session as oh. Thank you all.
Very
Thanks
nice of moderating. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks to
Professor
all the
Gopalji.
prominent speakers for such valuable information. With this, we have completed with the plenary session. I, Professor Shweta Shirode, on behalf of Clara's College of Commerce and the entire fraternity of the college, extend my most sincere thanks to all the prominent speakers who spared time from their busy schedule for gracing this conference with their crucial opinion and finding in this present pandemic time. Further, a very big thank you to the organizing committee for their efforts. I mention my deepest sense of appreciation and would place on record my hearty thanks to all the members who are directly and indirectly responsible for the grand success of this conference. I also extend thanks to all the teachers and participants. My hearty thanks to our principal, Dr. Madhukar Geete sir, management, Mr. Prashant Kashid sir, and Mr. Ajay Kaul sir for their constant support and motivation. A gentle request to everyone, kindly connect with the technical session exactly at 1:50 with the provided link. Thank you, everyone.
Shweta madam, thank you also for
Thank you.
wonderful anchoring of this session. Somebody should
Oh.
thank you, no? So we'll thank
Very
you.
nice. Very nice. Very nice.
Shall we leave, Shweta madam?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
We can
Thank you,
connect
Ravindra
again
sir.
by
Thank you.
1:50 with the
Malayadri
technical
Pacha
session.
sir, nice having you around.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you. Good day.
Good day to you.